In the dust of forgotten highways, in the shadows of roadside diners, we're spinning yarn from strange America, where every tale's got a twist, and not all ghosts wear chains. Ooh-wee, friends. It's been a hot one lately. Had to find me and my horse Red a watering hole. Spent the past few days there just trying to stay cool. Luckily, as the sun finally set, the heat mellowed enough to let a fella make a fire for some grub. We're all right now for tonight's tale. Let's head out to the flatlands, where the cornfields whisper secrets, and the sky ain't got nowhere to hide. This next tale comes from the scorched soil of Kansas, where the heat doesn't just bake the earth, it bends reality. The steel wind of Harper County. Summer of 1934. Smack in the middle of the Dust Bowl, folks in Harper County were used to bad air and worse luck. But that July, well, something different settled over the plains. Not just heat, stillness. They called it the week the wind died. It started July 8th, no breeze. No bird song. Dust hung in the air like suspended breath. Thermometers burst before noon, and the cows stopped lowing. And then, like clockwork, the dreams began. Same one, over and over. People standing in endless rows of stalkless corn, each holding a lantern filled not with flame, but black smoke. When they'd wake, they'd find soot in their sheets, dry, flaky, like ash from a church fire. Old man Hellburn said it reminded him of a story his granddaddy told about an ancient storm spirit that wandered until the land grew still enough to hear it knock. On the seventh night, the town's water tower burst from the inside, steam hissing out like a locomotive from hell. The next morning, every weather vane in the county had spun backward and stuck, pointing due east, where there were no storms. A traveling preacher rolled into town just as things broke. Said he felt a weight in the dust. Led his service under an open tent, no hymns. Just silence and sweat. When he closed his Bible, the wind picked up for the first time in days. Then he vanished. Left his wagon, his boots, even his sermon notes, all scorched, as if sunburnt into the wood. And just like that, the heat broke. The Harper folk don't speak of that week. Not in church, not at supper, and never when the air gets too quiet. They say the wind may wander, but when it stops, something listens. Midwestern heat don't shout, friend, it waits. And when the breeze dies down, you'd best make sure your dreams are your own. Well now, friend, this one's scorched into earth like boot tracks and dust. Let me tell you a tale where the devil don't dance. haggles, and sometimes he forgets who's got the upper hand. The crooked strings of Ransom Par. Down in Dustin County, Texas, where the pavement buckles by noon and the mesquite trees slant like they're trying to escape the sun. There's an old crossroads where the two state roads kiss and part like rivals. Folks call it Ransom Joke, and it earned that name the hard way. Ransom Par was a fiddle player, grew up poor, mean, and fast with his fingers. Could pluck grief out of a catgut better than most preachers could from scripture. But he wanted more: applause, wealth, women. Maybe revenge on all the folks who told him he'd never be nothing but dust with boots. So one July night in 1934, he went down to the crossroads, shirt open, fiddle in hand, sweat rolling off his neck like wax from a candle, and waited. At midnight, an all-black Ford Model A comes speeding out from the fog, stopping just shy of Ransom. A tall, pale, dressed like a banker who never blinked, steps right out, and with a grin, he tells Ransom he can make him a legend. All it would cost was the last note you'll ever play. And with a handshake, a deal was struck. Ransom's fame rose like heat off asphalt, sold out halls, chips, and women. But here's the hitch. He started hearing the last note in his sleep, low, mournful, and full of every sin he'd never owned up to. They say on stage in El Paso, he hit a chord so perfect the room went still. Then he froze. Fiddle still in place, bow mid-draw. Doctors called it a seizure. Fans said it was divine. But those who knew the tale, well, they say he played that last note, and whatever he bargained with came to collect. Ransom's body never decayed, just hardened, like wood under lacquer, still locked in that final bow. And oddly enough, many don't remember him, only a few old-timers. So, if you head out to Ransom Joke, lay a fiddle string on the center stone and listen close. Just before the sun rises, you might hear the echo of that last note. But careful now, because the crossroads still owe the debt. Some baked ground ain't the only thing that cracks under pressure. Some dreams blister, peel, and howl back when you call them by name. Looks like you made it this far, friend. Our last strange and hot tale takes it to South Dakota, where plains stretch quiet and wide. Don't let that lull fool you, 'cause when the sun beats down, it don't just take the crops, it takes what it's owed. The last breeze of Bramble Gate. Back in July of 1976, just outside a near-forgotten dot on the map called Bramble Gate, population 38 and shrinking, there came a heat wave so vicious the crows dropped mid-flight. The days hit 112, nights never dipped below 90. air thick with the smell of dust and something faintly coppery. The ground cracked, crops shriveled to parchment, and cattle stood as still as fence posts with tongues too dry to bellow. But the odd part, the wind stopped. No breeze, no rustle, not even a twitch of grass. And in South Dakota, that ain't natural. Folks said it was like the sky was holding its breath. Then came the girl. She walked out of the tall grass barefoot, dressed in white, and eyes darker than storm clouds that never came. Didn't say a word, just sat herself on the porch swing of the old Hewitt house. That one had been empty since the fire took half the family. That night, the first body turned up. Old man Kepler, postmaster and town grump, found sitting on his porch rocker, eyes open, mouth full of ash. No sign of smoke, just dust. Next night it was a grocer, then the school teacher. All found the same way. All smiles slack, hands folded polite, but with lungs full of something dry and ancient. And through it all, the girl stayed silent, swinging gently, though no wind stirred. By the fifth night, the townsfolk tried to leave. Every car stalled, every tire flattened, every phone line sang static like it was underwater. And then came the sixth night. The girl was gone, so was the town. I don't mean empty, I mean gone, flattened, as if scraped off the earth by a giant palm dipped in flame in quiet rage. Now if you're driving east through Han County, around mile marker 43, roll your windows up tight. They say on the hottest days, when the road blisters and the birds won't fly, you can see a lone porch swing rocking in a field where no house ever stood. And sometimes you'll spot the girl in white watching you with storm-colored eyes. Heat don't always burn. Sometimes it waits, still, patient, and final. That's the end of the road for now, friends. If the wind carries voices that ain't got mouths, and the river runs backwards just before dawn, don't ask why. Just know you've crossed over. We'll find you next time in the strange.
This has been a Fungal Mayhem production.